Okay.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
This is not America. Sha-la-la-la-la. Little piece of you.
Hey, welcome to Talking Truth to Power, America and the world's Freedom Talk Radio. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, and my co-host, Leland Faegre, is here.
Yep.
And we're anxiously awaiting the news from the great Poobah, the Grand Vizier, the Oz of Ozymandias.
Well, we got the news.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, the Fed has hiked by 75 basis points. So, so they're very concerned about inflation, as we all are.
Yeah.
But they're the ones that caused it.
Exactly.
Nobody else causes it.
When have we heard that before, where government creates a problem and then comes up with the wrong solution to fix the problem?
It's the technique they use all the time.
Changing people's lives.
Yeah. Good point.
So the thing is that we should have, so this is probably going to tank the market, they say?
Actually, it hasn't, but it has fallen significantly since the announcement. Yeah.
Okay.
It pushed up just ahead of the announcement by a couple of 100 points, and now it's back down under 100. So that's
Okay.
we're speaking about the Dow.
Right.
But
So-
proportionally, all of the averages have behaved the same way since
Yep.
since the announcement.
Yeah. Well, it's got to bottom out. That's the thing. The economy has to bottom out.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to get rid of all the malinvestments that were caused by too much money being pumped into the system, too much easy money, and interest rates being kept artificially low, which causes people to think there's real demand for products when there isn't. So that's why they start building skyscrapers and the offices stay empty. You know,
Mhm.
that's basically what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to clear out those bad investments. If they paper it over with bailouts and, which politicians hate recessions, because obviously they're going to be blamed for them.
You'd think they'd be more understanding of these issues.
I mean, well, they don't understand
They don't understand
nature
cycles.
of a lot of things.
No,
I'm
that's
afraid.
true. Yeah, because then they start a project and it's mothballed for a decade.
Mhm.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
How could they be that stupid? All they had to do was call me.
It-
What is she laughing at?
Probably one of those little yellow school buses that
Oh,
she
yeah,
likes
yeah,
so
that
much.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Why would sharp businessmen all of a sudden start making all these bad decisions? That was one of the basic questions that economist Murray Rothbard used to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Why? How come these smart businessmen that really know investments suddenly fall off the cliff and the economy crashes? Why is that? And
Right.
the answer is too much credit, too much spending.
Into the system, and it's not prices.
No,
That's the consequence of too much money.
exactly.
Because if you look up the definition of inflation just about anywhere, and I had this issue with my economics teacher at the college level when I was just out of high school, and I went up to him and I said, "This isn't the definition of inflation.
Mhm.
Higher prices is the consequence of too much money in the system." He was absolutely dumbfounded that a kid came up to him and made
and
this
said that. Yeah.
comment to
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
Well, because you don't hear it all the time.
And he wasn't a socialist, not by
No.
any standard.
No.
I mean, his tie was more narrow than any tie I think I've ever seen in my life. But he was wrong for him
Exactly.
to be proselytizing a subject that incorrectly explains this very important issue that nobody seems to understand anywhere you go.
Right. Yeah, they don't the very basic facts of economics. I mean, Biden seems to think if you tax the rich, that'll end inflation.
Yeah, the reality is you can
But
tax.
that's their plan for every crisis.
Sure,
Yeah.
because it's very attractive politically,
Right.
electorally.
But then their donors in their own party would even block that anyway.
But I'm going to go out on a thin branch,
Very thin branch.
not for me, but for those who would challenge it
Uh-huh.
by saying that if you were to tax every dollar of those billionaires he wants to go after. There's no money there.
Yeah. Well,
that money would last in about 6 or 7 hours. There's literally no money there. So it's one of the biggest lies that is ever discussed in the political and economic narrative.
So that's why they want to try to tax the unrealized gains.
Yes, gains that don't exist yet. They're actually talking about that.
I know.
Unbelievable. That's how desperate this crowd is.
Uh-huh.
And they just don't care of the consequences.
Well, wasn't it Margaret Thatcher that said the problem with socialism is sooner or later you run out of other people's money?
Right, and it's mostly sooner, not later.
And again, the thing is, if they bail these companies out, and like they did in 2008, and the system it's just like papering over cracks in the wall. Sooner or later, those cracks are going to reappear, and it's not so. But again, the momentum of the government, the state, is to try to preserve, the status quo, or at least not be blamed for bad downturns because they want to get reelected. That is their project, and they don't. The only one that had the guts to say something that I remember was President Reagan when he was first in office, and he said he was going to keep Volcker in as Fed chair, and he told the American
Adolf Volcker.
He told the American people flat out in one of his first speeches that times are going to be tough for a year or two, but after that, it's going to be better.
And that's
We choose truth over facts.
And that's exactly how it played out.
Yeah, exactly. And it gave people something to hope for, too. I mean, it gave people something to realize that somebody was in charge and was trying to do something. Now, of course, it wasn't perfect. I mean, the solution to these things is never perfect, especially when it comes from a central authority like the Fed. But
we're not going to get rid of the central bank anytime soon?
I wish that we could, but
I heard him claim this morning
uh,
that inflation is lower here than anywhere else in the world, which is another lie.
Oh, yeah.
As if other nations don't have sovereign central banks doing the very same thing they're doing here, I mean, his crowd is so stupid. He can get away with anything.
Exactly.
Unable to listen to the whole show, a recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now, back to the show.
And, this is Brendan Trainor. I'm here with my co-partner.
Leland Faegre?
Yep, Leland Faegre. I was a little startled because we just got some sound back and it was cut off there at the beginning. But at any rate, Lee, have you ever heard of Blake Masters?
Yeah, the name's familiar. Yeah.
He's probably the most based candidate in the Republican primaries. He's an Arizona candidate for senator. And John Oliver has already dedicated a show to explain how he's a racist. So
he's turned up on Fox quite a bit lately.
Yeah,
I've seen him there.
Well, anyway, when asked about the gun problem, he said it's a black problem, frankly. And nobody is supposed to say that. But I mean, we can talk about Democrat-run cities, but that's really a dog whistle for black people.
Oh, I get my dog whistle.
Oh, yeah, we don't have the dog whistles out.
I'm going to rip my pocket up here.
Play Who Let the Dogs Out?
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
And it's black against black crime that really is the problem.
Exactly.
In the inner cities. So
yes, it is.
And nobody's, likely to say that, but at least not particularly often, because it raises all kinds of racist whistles.
Exactly. But you can't ignore it. these statistics are just too obvious and out there.
They don't lie.
No. Let's see if we can run some of them down here. The 3 mass shootings that we all heard about in the last few weeks, the Buffalo supermarket shooting.
Garland's up there this morning. Do you see that?
Where, in Buffalo?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The Robb Elementary School shooting, and there was a third one, though, the Tulsa hospital shooting.
Yeah, right.
And that was a black perpetrator who killed a black doctor
Uh-huh.
because he claimed he botched an operation.
A different kind of black on black crime.
Yeah, exactly.
Just,
But it's and he killed 4 people, so that makes it almost like a white on black crime as far as because most black on black crime is very low deaths.
right. They just
murder
spray
rates
and hope.
spray.
hope
Yeah, they
something
spray
hits.
barbecues, they spray funerals.
Yeah.
That's what they do, or nightclubs. So,
This
but
guy had a lot of back pain, apparently.
yeah, apparently,
Yeah.
yeah. So there were 38 mass shootings with 4 or more people shot that you never heard about over the last few weeks, and there were 41 dead, 164 wounded, total 205 casualties.
You mean like a weekend in Chicago?
Yeah, like a weekend in Chicago, exactly. Then the CDC comes in. They have the CDC studying homicides as if they were a disease. But anyway, in 2020, the last year, they have data. The 5.9 people per 100,000 population were murdered by guns, firearms. And handguns were used over 8,000 times. Rifles were only used 455 times. So rifles, once again, government misapplying the wrong solution, right?
yeah.
Rifles are not really the problem. And of that, we don't even know how many were semi-automatic or could be described as assault weapons. So, but of the 19,000 people that were victims of homicides, 12,000 were black. And that comes out to a rate per 100,000 of 25.5 per 100,000. Whites, including Hispanics, a little bit more than 6,000, but only 2.7 per 100,000. Shut up. Yeah. And then if you separate out Hispanics from the whites, the number of whites comes down to less than 2 per 100,000. And then another statistic that's a little bit different is 566 blacks killed white people in 2020, while 246 whites or Hispanics killed black people. But the point is the rate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if everybody in America had died from gun murder at the white rate, if you call it that, there would only have been 6,500 gun homicides, not 19,400 homicides. That's less than 65% of the murder rate, or 65% less. I'm sorry, from instead of 19.4, it goes all the way down to 6.5. So if that was the real gun homicide rate in America, you could defund the police.
We could take a walk on the south side of Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, if you look internationally, what's also interesting is there are countries with high gun ownership and low gun murder rates. Most of those countries are majority white. So I'm thinking of Israel, Finland, and Switzerland, countries like that. Now, there are a few white countries with low gun ownership but high gun murder rates, like Russia, but that's a separate anomaly. So most countries with high murder rates and either high or low gun ownership rates are majority black or Hispanic, not Caucasian. Mm-hmm. So the problems are complex. People talk about poverty, drug use, lack of parental guidance, general systemic racism, even some will admit black culture.
Fatherless children?
Fatherless
Does that come
in? Yeah, that's right. Lack of 2 parents, exactly.
What am I doing here?
Yeah.
No one, though, is allowed to even suggest that there are important racial differences that are a major factor. Some of these that a few people are talking about are lower average IQ, higher testosterone levels among young black males than are found in Caucasian males, elevated dopamine levels as well in young black males compared to Caucasian males. Now,
You white supremacist, you.
I know exactly. You can't talk about them without being labeled and banished and everything else canceled.
Except here on Talking Truth.
Except here on Talking Truth to Power. So far.
We're changing people's lives.
Yeah. Yes, you are.
So these have to be at least a part of the conversation to be examined and not dismissed just out of hand, like we were saying. So we have to ask the basic question, which has a bigger impact on a country's murder rate? The number of guns in the country or the type of people who live in a country? That's a totally different question.
I think the answer is the latter.
Yeah, it would appear to be. But that goes.
That gun proliferation thing doesn't go very far in the narrative, does it?
No. Like you said, I mean, Chicago is always blamed on the number of guns, not on the people that are using it.
And that's a good. And that's how they go, an example of how they go in and they just spray in those social contexts and hope something hits.
Right.
Yeah.
The gang violence.
Yeah,
right.
right.
And their weapon of choice is the handgun. They like put it out flat, the gangster style, and
wave it around.
Yeah, wave it around, start shooting people, spray shooting, social gatherings where one or more people may have offended the gang, but everybody that's there is going to get shot at,
Mm-hmm.
and
somebody's going to get hit.
Right. Now, even this black doctor, he took out 4 people, so I guess he had kind of felt white for a few moments there. Because the thing is, when white people commit mass murder, they generally aim. They know what they want to do, and they do it. I'm not, obviously, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying it's a matter of culture. But the problem is it also a matter of, endowment, genetic endowment. It was, who found DNA, the discoverer of DNA, the 2 scientists. One was named Watson, one was named Crick. And then Dr. Watson, later on in life, he started studying IQ, and he found out that the IQs of Europeans were significantly higher than the IQs of most sub-Saharan black people. And he published his findings, and he, said he worried about the future of South Africa.
How'd that go over?
Not well. He was kicked out of. It's like they took down his statue and canceled.
Yeah,
him.
right. I think we've talked about him in the past.
Yeah, I think we probably have, but it just a reminder in this context, because what they're actually trying to do is take away the guns that white people like the rifles, semi-automatic rifles, are majority used by white people for target shooting and so on. They're going to take that away because of the crimes that blacks are committing, and nobody thinks that's discriminatory.
Extremely logical. You really need to rethink that. That makes perfect sense to the narrative.
Yeah. I wonder what Kamala would say about that.
Propagandists love that stuff.
Yeah.
That's how we beat COVID-19, by working together.
We don't know. We don't know.
No, they don't know.
They don't have a clue, I'm afraid. Yeah. But
are you going? Is this where you invoke Saylor's law?
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Steve Saylor, columnist for several disreputable websites and magazines like the Unz Review. He has that's his law, and he has the statistics to back it up if you challenge him.
If a mass shooting kills more victims than wounds, the perpetrator was white.
Uh-huh.
If a mass shooter wounds much more than he kills, the perpetrator was non-white.
Exactly.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now, back to the show.
Hey, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Trainor, and I'm here with Leland Faegre. And have you ever read A Tale of Two Cities?
Yeah.
It was very good.
Very long ago.
Long ago, yes. I was like high school reading.
I'm sure it's
material,
not suggested reading anymore.
No. But at any rate, we have A Tale of Two Bankers.
Mm-hmm. I see where you're going there.
Yeah. The first banker is Elvira Nabulina. I've probably never heard of her. She is the head of the Russian Central Bank, and she's now being hailed by Russians and others alike as a genius who decisively struck the right notes and guided Russia through the wave of sanctions imposed due to their special military operation in the Ukraine.
Just like Janet Yellen.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Just like Janet Yellen.
An interesting thing. An interesting thing about Ms. Nabulina is that she's a Tatar.
Uh-huh.
That's a large ethnic Turkish minority in Russia. They've been in Russia for centuries, but they're not. She's not a Slav, but she's promoted to this high position in the Russian government. And
she must be very good.
Yes. Speaking of Janet Yellen,
Yeah.
She is the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury and former head of the Federal Reserve. She just recently admitted she was mistaken when she claimed U.S. inflation would be transitory.
All she had to do was call me. I mean, these things are simple.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
She has no answers for the coming recession. During her recent congressional oversight, she's had more to say about gun violence and promoting equity than any real proposals for the train wreck economy.
Yeah, as if any of those factor into this discussion. I mean, she's just a total apparatchik, is what she is.
Exactly. Now, Janet Yellen is also a minority. She is
happens
Jewish.
to be Jewish. Yeah.
Yeah, happens to be Jewish. But she makes one wonder if the Jews really are the smartest people on earth.
Well, she was at the Federal Reserve, though.
Uh-huh.
So she must be. Closed discussion.
While we're on the topic of Russia and the sanctions and inflation, did you know Russia has increased its state pensions by 10%?
You know, I caught a whiff of that somewhere. I don't know where I heard it, but yeah, isn't that something?
To help seniors offset inflation. Hungary also raised pensions probably by 5 or 6%. But
and where's that money coming from in the Russian budget to cover that?
No one is suggesting this in America, but we can pass $40 billion for aid to Ukraine in a heartbeat.
Another billion this morning.
Another billion this morning.
I just saw it, yeah. Mm-hmm. Whatever they want, they get.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a 10% boost to Social Security.
It's always the rate of inflation.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I wonder who's here we could plant this bug on now that the primaries are over. You know, somebody's got to do something to start looking out for America. America first.
Ultra MAGA.
Ultra MAGA.
Well, they're not over yet, but there's a lot of them behind us now for sure.
Right.
And it was a good night.
Yes.
Very good night. Yeah. For Trump and for candidates who want to put America first.
Exactly. Well.
And you know who's the big loser so far?
Tell me, Leland.
Those delusional Democrats.
The delusional Ds?
Because they think this demographic change is going to help them, and it isn't. That's what the numbers are already revealing.
You're talking about the totally Hispanic Rio Grande district?
That crowd,
yeah. That elected a Republican Latino instead of the Democrat?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that's the trend is everywhere across the country. It's not just, you see, the thing about they've always thought that if they just placate racism, and that's what they are. They're racists.
Mm-hmm.
They call us racist because They're the racists.
Exactly. Projection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they hope it, hangs on on whoever they're trying to go after. But it's always ad hominem
Oh yeah, they don't have any ideas. They have to attack the person.
because they don't have any
Putin puppet.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
So anyway, the numbers have already revealed that Hispanics are not going to Democrats; they're coming to Republicans.
We don't know. We don't know.
And so this trend is only going to continue going forward into the primary season and into the election of November. So it's very exciting because we never ostracized those people. We always wanted them with us. We always had a big tent.
Mhm.
Had nothing to do with the color of your skin.
No,
Ever.
no. We're the ones trying to have a colorblind society.
Yeah. They're the
If
ones who want the
possible.
racist
Yeah.
society as an excuse to impose the state upon us.
We're changing people's lives.
He just doesn't say how in that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, just like my ex-girlfriend, they don't tell you how.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. So, in other news,
Oh, there were other news?
well, we can talk about Ukraine. You know, the Google trend for Ukraine is flatlined. You know, the American people are not listening, are not going to pay any more attention to it. They're not interested anymore.
Yeah. You can tell by the coverage or
Yeah.
the lack thereof.
I wonder how many blue check Twitter users are going to quietly remove that Ukrainian emoji from their Twitter handle. Or will Mika finally show up on our show in the morning?
Has she not been there?
No, I mean, without wearing a blue and yellow scarf.
Oh, I see. At some
Yeah.
point, yeah, they have to
Yeah,
face reality here. Yeah.
and the thing is, the Russian colors are red, white, and blue. They're only just white, white, blue, and red.
Different
Yeah.
color,
Yeah.
different order.
Yeah.
You're a lying dog-faced pony shoulder.
Well, Ukraine is in fact teetering on the brink of destruction of its major army.
Not to mention the export necessary for its survival,
Well, it's asking for $5 billion a year from the Europeans.
Yeah, right.
A month. No, $5 billion a month from
So-
the Europeans to keep their treasury afloat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they've got to get that weed out of there,
They have weed in Ukraine?
Wheat.
Oh, weed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people make that mistake.
Well, the Russians, are not stopping them from doing it. The Russians.
No, it's the mining that the Ukrainians did that's
Yeah.
making it impossible to sell the wheat.
Yeah. And they're convinced that Russia is going to invade by sea, amphibious landing. So they're using that as an excuse not to clear the mines. I think, from what I can see, I think Russia is just going to go north of Odessa, which is right on the Black Sea. I believe they're beginning to tentatively start this offensive as they consolidate the Donbass.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to go north of Odessa and just basically cut Odessa off. They don't want to invade the city. It's an historic old city. It has it's almost like Russia's Chicago. It's got a lot of
Has an architecture.
it has architecture, but it also has a history
culture.
full of criminal gangs.
Oh, that criminal gang.
Waterfront fights, pogroms.
Oh yeah, that.
And it's a great resort city. I mean, you can go there and see nothing but white people in the water. I mean, I know the New York Times is very upset about that, but that's
sure,
the thing. But so they'll probably just go north, and then they'll hook up with that thin little sliver of land along the border with Moldova, Transnistria, that has ethnic Russian people in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll hook up with that, and then they'll just wade them out.
Yeah, to me it looks like mission accomplished.
Yeah.
It's just to follow through at this point.
Right. Well, the Luhansk is virtually over. It's 98% over.
And the Ukrainians that are left are surrounded.
Yeah, that's what happened in Severodonetsk has been in the news.
Mm-hmm.
That just shows the tactical cluelessness of President Goldberg and
Yeah.
his crew there.
I'm sorry, Goldberg?
Yeah, President Goldberg.
Oh, that's right. Goldberg is Russian for Zelensky.
Zelensky, right. So there were like twin cities there. The Russians are coming in from the east, going westward. The river, Donetsk River flows north and south there. And on the other side of the Donetsk River, there's a sister city called to Donetsk called Lyshansk, and that city is fortified. It has hills, and the Ukrainians have already fortified the hills with cannons and everything else. But President Goldberg insisted that they fight for Severodonetsk on the other side of the river. So the Russians decimated them, and then they destroyed the bridges going across the river, so they trapped them.
Yeah.
And surrounded them.
That's exactly what they did.
And all because it was like Hitler telling von Paulus in Stalingrad to fight to the death. And Paulus finally surrendered and says, I'm not going to die for that corporal.
Yeah, right.
Shut up.
And that's why a lot of you're hearing more and more groups of Ukrainians calling in and surrendering.
Yeah,
And,
it was
you
a
know.
predictable eventuality.
Now, the Donetsk is still only about 50% liberated, so so there will be some more fighting there, but I don't know if it'll be as intense as we've seen. They might roll it up pretty quickly.
Well, it's about morale at this point.
Exactly.
And it's difficult to come back after what's happened.
We're changing people's lives.
But Trump was right again.
Exactly.
Russia further reduces its natural gas flow by 40% into Germany.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now, back to the show.
Well, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor. We're here for the final segment with Leland and Faegre. And, the January 6th clown show is put off for one day, but it'll resume tomorrow.
Man. And this is with an ABC director.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is what you got. Oh man, they'll never live this down.
No, the ratings are completely in the tank, right? I don't see anybody that's really following it. Okay, so maybe Trump was a little bit narcissistic, or he doesn't have a nice personality. We know all that sometimes. We know all that already, but they haven't brought forth any credible evidence of any criminal act so far.
Well, except for the ones that caused it.
Yeah.
Which they're not talking about. For example, this Antifa BLM leader who was filmed inside the U.S. Capitol on the 6th broke a window and organized Antifa rally near the Capitol that day, has only spent 1 day in jail.
Oh yeah.
The organizers, not just the Antifa crowd, but the informants, the FBI informants that arranged the entire episode. Those people, they sleep in their own beds.
Sure, yeah. They'll die peacefully in their sleep.
Nobody talks about that except us.
But they wouldn't have had their freedom.
Right.
We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. But we do know that there were FBI informants on the ground organizing.
Yeah. And we know that
it was a setup. It was a complete setup to get Trump.
Exactly. And that requires planning, and that requires a conspiracy.
Clapper.
Yeah.
Brennan.
Exactly.
And Obama.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
Oop, didn't get to mine, but that was enough.
Yeah. And those aren't just code words. I mean, we know now from the Durham investigation that we're beginning to see that the Russiagate reached up to the highest levels. It's certainly going to implicate Hillary.
Everybody was in.
Yeah.
Everybody from Hillary on down, and let's see where Durham takes this thing, because it's very important that we get at these people.
Sure, we can't have this kind of shenanigans in a republic, but unfortunately, it keeps popping up throughout our history.
Well,
You know the thing.
more and more lately,
Yes.
unfortunately. Yeah. But that 7th floor of the FBI, that's a cesspool.
Mm-hmm. Like the State Department, and like there's a few other cesspools there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But so the thing is that former President Trump issued a 12-page statement denouncing the hearings, first of all, on the fact that, it was inappropriate. There's a lot better things to do. The American people are suffering and so on. But then he laid out the allegations in the documentary by Dinesh D'Souza of 200 Mules.
Which Bill Barr laughed at.
Yes.
He thought that was funny. I don't see anything funny about that.
He claims that didn't provide any real evidence that he could see.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's invested in the assumption that the election was fair. In fact, you could make a case that the reason Barr ever appeared in the Trump administration was because he raised his arm and said, "Can I come in and bring the Bushes back?"
I don't have anything new for you on that, and we'll circle back with you directly. I can circle back. I'll circle back with you.
Because that's what he was there to do, run cover for the neocons.
Exactly. And he helped Trump out on occasion, but that's
But
right.
he's still at it.
Yeah.
He's still at it.
He's been a fixer, like in that Tarantino movie. He's the guy you call when you have a body in your car and blood all over the place, and he comes in and cleans it all up.
Well, that was his purpose, but it's not working for them. Cheney's lost her seat. She can't win that seat. Kinzinger has been districted out of his seat.
Right.
And the neocons are embarrassing themselves every day. Who were the Republicans that signed on to that piece of legislation? The 20, was it part of the 27 or
the gun control or?
Yeah.
Well,
they want government to knock down our doors.
Well, we know Mitt signed on to it.
Yeah, Mitt.
Mm-hmm. And Cornyn from Texas.
Yep.
There's several others there. I don't know offhand, but the usual suspects.
Yep.
Pretty much.
But they've had their day, and the American people will have their way with them, because they're going away. And we lost another one last night. That neocon in South Carolina or North Carolina, the one.
Don't tell me Lindsay.
No,
Lindsay,
it's not him.
No.
Wishful thinking on your part. I had it here a minute ago, but I don't see it anymore. But anyway, the Trump-endorsed candidate beat him. And he had voted for the impeachment of Donald Trump. These are great victories for us.
Yeah.
Great victories. Very exciting.
Not since the Tea Party victories have we had
this much fun.
Yeah. Hoping for a renaissance.
Took the words right out of your mouth.
So
are we having fun yet, as they say?
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see who they call in next. But so far, like Professor Turley has said, there's absolutely no evidence of any kind of criminal wrongdoing on Trump's part.
No, they don't have anything. They never have anything, and yet they continue to seek his demise, because that's the only way they can survive this episode of American history and save their globalism.
Oh,
it's all about saving their globalism.
Right. It's not so much the Democratic Party might be out of power for a few terms. It's globalism, the new, the rules-based international order. We have to preserve that.
That has to be preserved at all costs.
Yeah.
We choose truth over facts.
And so, so they're sending all kinds of.
Oh, it's Tom Rice. That's the rhino in South Carolina.
Rice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that had.
So he's Rice Krispie now.
Yeah, he's been fried. Yeah.
Good. We're glad to hear it.
I think I'll have something with fried rice this evening just to celebrate. Because that's how we have fun here on
Yeah,
Talking
that's
Truth
how
to
we
Power.
roll here at Talking Truth to
What
Power.
am I doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Biden continues to talk about revolution if the court does not rule as he demands.
Oh, yeah, because that's the way they maintain power. And I'm not giving up on the assumption that there's going to be an election in November. If they could impose some sort of martial law on a pretense, a false flag, they could survive the 8th of November. I don't know what else they got. What else could they have up their sleeve except something like that?
Yeah, I mean, they've already wagged the dog in Ukraine, and that's not really working out to their satisfaction. Unless they try to do something over Taiwan, but that would be suicide. I mean,
At this point, it would be.
Everybody says that we can't get within 200 miles of there. The days of being able to sail a enemy flotilla through the Taiwan Straits are over. That's the Chinese would destroy us, and all the war games say they would destroy us. And yet Biden at a big press conference said we're committed to military action.
Right.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know where he is.
We don't know. We don't know.
Like I said in the beginning, Biden thinks America is back, but the neighborhood has changed. It's not the same. Donald Trump, even if he is a one-term president, he affected change, real change. He has a legacy because he pointed out that the emperor has no clothes, and he revealed a lot of craps in the system.
Right. But how do you explain the fact that Biden has now decided he's going to punish those Border Patrol agents after all? Did you see that this morning?
Yeah, that'll endear him with law enforcement.
Yeah, he's literally creating a field of resistance that can only result in a civil war, from my perspective. That's the only thing. The only way this makes sense is he's deliberately put us apart, pushing this scenario against each other, which is the certification or the foundation for civil war.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what the Great Reset entails, and part of it might be
the precondition
for a civil war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't see it playing out any other way, whether it's, by November or after, but that's what they seek.
Right.
Because that's the only way they can maintain power.
Well, we don't like those vaccine movements and conspiracy people.
Yeah, well, that's who we are here at Talking Truth to Power.
I mean, are they going to push a global famine? Are they going to exacerbate?
Well, I think that's already here. And manufacturing plants have blown up and fried up lately. There was another one just the other day. Did you see that?
I think I did, yeah.
And then 10,000 herd of cattle just fried on the plain because they couldn't get water to them or something. I mean, food shortages are just beginning.
This is not America.
And you see where Obama may be off the grid. He paid $75,000 for a propane tank on his property there. Apocalypse bunker.